Weapons is nuts, and Zach Cregger's on a roll with Barbarian and this. I can't wait to talk about this movie. It is I, Dalton Burdett, with the amazing Nick Iricchio. Nick, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, man. This movie was insane. I'm so excited to talk about it.
Oh, me too, me too. Guys, really quick, full spoiler review for Weapons. The review's about a week late, and since it's late, we figured we can go ahead and talk about full spoilers. So if you haven't seen Weapons, this is not a movie that you want spoiled for you. Please go away and then come back once you've seen Weapons to get the spoiler review. Nick, I'm going to throw it over to you first.
Oh, man.
You know, you sit down to watch Weapons, you have a vague idea of what the movie is from the trailer. I know that you and I purposely avoided a lot of marketing material because we had been following when it was in the bidding war and how it was secretive, and we were intrigued by the mystery. You sit down to watch Weapons. Give me your experience.
I mean, Barbarian was one that just, I didn't know what to expect from it, and then just as the movie kept progressing, it just went more and more off the rails, and that's the type of horror that I like. I love Barbarian, I love, Malignant. I love the ones that just aren't afraid to go batshit insane at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And Weapons also falls in that bucket now, because, I mean, it was a movie that, as the mystery's building throughout, you're on the edge of your seat waiting, because it's not really giving you a whole lot of information as to what's going on, but at the same time, in hindsight, it's giving you everything that's going on. And having that and unraveling that mystery throughout and having the reveal at the end and how insane it gets, it just added so much more rewatchability for me versus something like, I think Barbarian I do rewatch because I enjoy, but you're not really necessarily picking up on new things each watch. And I think that the mystery that was crafted in this one was a lot more interesting, a lot more engaging. I thought the performances were across the board all fantastic. I love the suspense. I love the direction. The movie just worked for me in every regard.
I'm with you. I love that the movie did not feel pressured to follow any type of trope. It actually went against many tropes. But in terms of the standard pacing of a horror film, it felt more like a mystery movie for the first half of it. And then you get horrified and be like, oh, right, this is a horror film as well. And it happens so frequently enough to where it builds enough suspense to really let you sit in it rather than just, release you of that tension constantly. There's a sequence in this movie where Julia Garner's character drunkenly falls asleep watching a house, and you see someone come out of the house, stand in front of her car, turn around off camera, then you hear the back door open. Mm-hmm. Dude, you could hear the air get sucked out of my theater when that happened. It was such a great moment. And I gotta say, too, just the buildup of what the mystery was, I thought was exceptionally well done, especially through some very clever foreshadowing. And that, at first you have no idea what this thing could be, or how these kids went missing, what's going on, how it's all connected. And then Josh Brolin's character, seemingly to fuck with Julia, it's a Julie Gardner's character?
Julia Garner.
Yeah. To fuck with her, paints witch on her car. And at first you're like, oh, that's funny. But then literally foreshadowing, as an audience member, you start to go, yo, is it fucking witches? And then as the movie plays out, you're like, holy fuck, it is a witch. That's so funny. The way that it does that was so clever, I thought. And it keeps you in that suspension of disbelief gradually. So that way, when it gets crazy, you're all in. And dude, let's talk about Amy Madigan's performance. Mm-hmm. My God. What a great performance.
And she plays Aunt Gladys, the witch, for all, she is the witch. No, I thought it was a great performance there.
And I love stories that don't spoon feed you stuff. I've seen some complaints online saying we didn't get a lot of her backstory. I'm glad we didn't. It was more scary just being in the moment, one. Two, I love the implied story of you ask yourself while watching a movie, why isn't she hurting the grandchild? Or not her grandchild, but her sister's, her nephew. Yeah. Why isn't she hurting her nephew? Why is she only hurting the parents? And basically the story that I put in my head canon, is basically that obviously we know that she was dying, and she thought that doing that to a family member would heal her. It didn't. So she started doing it to all the kids. But I think the reason she didn't hurt the nephew is because she thinks that the nephew's got the witchness, because later in the movie, he performs one and does it himself. And when that happened to me, I'm like, oh, she wanted to keep the kid around because it was one of her. And so, like, in the movie, that doesn't tell you that. And maybe that's not the intention of the filmmaker. But as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, I think that can work, like, as you're watching the movie. And that question doesn't need to be answered, by the way. And that's what makes the genius of it, because if you have a question that needs to be answered and you don't answer it, that's annoying. The question didn't need to be answered. It just lets you kind of go in and go, oh, it might be this, it might be this. And I thought that was very cool and very interesting. I also want to talk about that I've been on the Alden Ehrenreich train for many years now, and he's absolutely great in the movie. I've always loved him, ever since you were even a fan of him, because I didn't see, what was the Coen Brothers movie he did before Solo? Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar. Big fan of Hail Caesar.
I remember you came out of Hail Caesar and you talked about him, and you're like, he was great, and then he was Han Solo. And ever from then on, I'm like, yo, this guy's a very good actor. And like everything he's been in, he's been fantastic. But I also want to shout out in the cast, obviously Josh Brolin and Julia Garner do amazing work. I want to shout out Austin Abrams, who I thought was obviously a comedic note in the story, but also a very integral part of the overall story. And I thought the way that the movie balanced humor was really well done. A lot of the humor felt natural, and it didn't feel like it was taking away from the horror, and vice versa. I think the hardest I laughed in the movie is when Julia Garner is being chased by Benedict Wong through the gas station, and she looks at the attendant and just says, "Fucking help me!" That was so funny.
I think mine was when Josh Brolin wakes up from the dream and is just in bed and just goes, "What the fuck?"
That was great too. That was great too.
Austin Abrams was great. We didn't touch upon it, but just the way the story is told is from a bunch of shifting perspectives. And kind of at the end of each one, you get a little bit of a reveal, and then you go back, see someone else's perspective, and you kind of get the story in bits and pieces that way. And when it gets to the Austin Abrams section, he's a junkie in the movie, if you've seen it, right? You're just like, oh man, I'm not going to be invested in this. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, here's the movie. And you're just like, oh, we're doing it on this guy. That's fine. That's okay. I'm enjoying this. I'm very excited that he was just cast in Zach Cregger's Resident Evil movie. So that's going to be very exciting to see there. Thought Josh Brolin I really liked Josh Brolin's character as this father who's trying his best just to try to cope with everything that's going on. And you can tell like he does some bad stuff, but he's not just inherently a bad guy. And I thought that the way that character was written, it was a very nuanced performance for all the screaming that he did, you know?
Yeah.
And same goes for Julia Garner. I thought she did a terrific job of just this kind of shy, quieter character that gradually, as the town starts pissing her off more, is just like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm done. And to me also, I loved Benedict Wong in the movie. I don't know how they did that to his face in that scene. It was horrifying. It was the scariest shit I've seen in a movie in a long time. But for me, just going back to the overall thought, the shifting perspectives I thought worked really well and was a very effective way to tell this story. I don't know how it would have portrayed like in a more linear sense if it would have been as effective.
Yeah, no, I think this was the only way to tell the story. And that's what you want when you have a story that's atypical. And I love that storylines went to a place where, like, as you're going into each person, you're like, well, there's no way they kill a person that we're shifting into their perspective. And they do it 2 times. And it's like, oh, snap. Like, Alden Ehrenreich and Austin Abrams both die. And they get, taken over by the witch, and you don't see them again until at the end of the movie. And I thought that was well done. I loved the kids chasing the witch just through windows and gates and walls and just fucking going after her until they ripped her apart was awesome.
Was your theater like hooting and hollering? Mine was like, it started out as like uncomfortable laughter. Like, is this supposed to be funny or serious? Like, they didn't know. And then just the longer it went on, they're like, oh, this is supposed to be like, I'm supposed to be enjoying this and relishing in the moment, as the film is, because it's a very elongated sequence. No, that was the highlight of the movie. That ending I thought was just fantastic. Shifting into in terms of negatives, I think I've seen a lot the ending directly not working for a lot of people. I personally didn't have an issue with it. I didn't need more kind of like an epilogue.
I'll take it one step further. I fucking love the ending. I love how the movie ends, personally.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, we're talking post the body getting ripped, just the way everything
Hmm.
resolves. I feel like a lot of people wanted like 10 more minutes to see a little aftermath. I didn't think it was necessary, but I've seen that critique online. And I think that the reveal happens in the kids section, Alex, the nephew. And I thought he gave a great performance as
Yeah.
well. Um, I felt like that reveal went on just a little bit too long for me of what's happening. It kind of very similar to like Long Legs, where I'm like, we're getting this long sequence of like, and here's what's been happening the whole time, and I'm like, okay, let's wrap it up a little bit too, you know.
Hmm.
I think those are kind of really my main critiques of the film.
No, that's fair. I would say my critique of the film really just comes down to pace, where I thought that there were moments in each, like when you dive into each character's chapter, there were moments in each where I thought to myself, oh, this would be perfect to end this chapter like right here. And then it
Yeah,
would keep going. And sometimes for good where you get more information, but sometimes it just felt like, all right, I think we can get to the next one now. And maybe on rewatch it's not as much of a problem, but as I was invested in the movie and like ready to learn new information and keep going, it did get a little bit annoying. But on the flip side of that, I loved seeing things from multiple perspectives and the small nuance changes to the performances and how one person would interpret an event differently.
hmm
Both with Austin Abrams and Alden Ehrenreich, and with Alden Ehrenreich and Julia Garner. Like their interactions were slightly different depending on whose story you're in, which I thought was very interesting.
hmm
But yeah, I mean the movie rules. Like it's just one of those things where like halfway through the movie you're like, dude, this is fucking awesome. I'm gonna kick back and keep enjoying this, and I really did. Um,
the filmmaking on display though too. I mean, Zach
yeah,
Cregger is one of the most exciting directors working today. Whoever he is shooting these movies with him, I think they're a great duo. I don't know if the same cinematographer did Barbarian, but I just love the look and feel. Like he already, to me, has a very distinct feel in
mm,
how his movies are filmed, and I'm very excited to see Resident Evil. I think is what's up next, and I don't really have much attachment to that game or that series, but his involvement makes me immediately interested.
same. Like he's hit the point where I'll watch anything he makes,
Mhm.
and with his comedy background, like the Whitest Kid You Know sketches, like he's able to bring that balance so perfectly. Like it's crazy how the humor in both Barbarian and Weapons works so insanely well. And also, he's not in the movie long, but I did get incredibly happy when Justin Long showed up in the movie. So, keep working with Zach Cregger. I think that's a great relationship there.
I saw a great tweet earlier today. It just said when Justin Long showed up in Weapons, it got a Toby Maguire No Way Home reaction out of my crowd, and I'm like, you know what? And it's well deserved.
Yes, for sure. For sure. But yeah, I think the movie rules. I love that there's stuff in it, like just like the gun over the house in Josh Brolin's dream. All right. Like I know that you can interpret that many different ways. The movie's kind of a bit of an allegory for a school shooting if you think about it, with just like kids disappearing one day. But at the same time, that they're used as weapons, and that's a fucking weapon. And I was talking to someone who's seen the movie, and they interpreted it as just his mindset and what his call to action would be to just take up arms and go. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting interpretation. But like the fact that that conversation can occur of like, what does it mean? And it wasn't something that needed to be answered. Like, it's not something that left me aggravated. And that what's it trying to say? It wasn't framed that way. And because a worse filmmaker would have made that an important moment that whether you like the movie or not hinges on your understanding of that. And that's not what this moment was. It was handled with much more care than that. And so like when you have stuff like that, it really works,
Well, I think too. Also, he's said in interviews that writing this movie was sort of his grieving process for
Mm.
the passing of Trevor Moore. Right,
Trevor
that's
Moore.
his name.
Hmm.
So watching that, I'm very excited now to rewatch the film, knowing that not that I'm excited that it happened, but just
Hmm.
that that's such an interesting mindset based on the movie that we saw that I do want to go see sort of that process of grief on display
Yeah.
throughout because I almost feel like each different character is a representative of a different faction of kind of Zach Krieger's mind in that state. There's also a loving tribute to one of their sketches with 7 hot dogs.
Yes,
I
yes.
thought was a very nice touch, but I think it's a movie that you'll have no problem wanting to rewatch again, and I think it's a movie that you'll take away something different each time, and it still works just as effective. It's not kind of a mystery that's, well, one and done, I know everything that's happening.
Yeah, no, like I can't wait to watch it again. It's TLDR, I can't wait to watch this movie again. Hannah still hasn't seen it. I can't wait to take her. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, guys, if you've seen Weapons, please let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. We'd love to have the conversation about the movie with you. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next review.